Welcome to another OU Insider Under the Visor YouTube Live, powered by Riverwind Casino. My name is Brandon Drumm, Parker Thune, Spencer Forsythe on the board. Lots to talk about. Under Armour camp was this past weekend. So much recruiting to talk about there. I think Parker and I talked to close to 20 plus OU targets at that camp. Already a ton of content on OU Insider. If you've missed out on that, the VIP, like the deep seated information all over there right now. Um, Basketball, softball, baseball. There's a lot of OU athletics going on, and we're going to discuss that all right here. And we're going to answer your questions as well on this OU Insider Under the Visor YouTube Live, powered by Riverwind Casino. But first, we're going to thank our sponsors.
Yes, starting with Riverwind Casino, Brandon. Sooner fans, you deserve the ultimate gaming experience, and that is Riverwind Casino, which has been the Metro's premier gaming destination for over 18 years, almost 2 decades of dominance from Riverwind Casino with over 2,800 electronic games, table games, bars, and dining options, plus the best live music in the Metro. It's no surprise that Riverwind is always a good time. Also want to get a quick word in for our friends at Mando. You've heard Brandon and I talk about Mando in the past. We smell great, and it's because of Mando whole body deodorant and the full line of Mando products created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. Mando is clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. All products are baking soda free and paraben free. You can choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, clover woods, Mount Fuji, Pro Sport, clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. And Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers because you get a little bit of everything. Comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, and free shipping. And as a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. Now, that equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you use code INSIDER at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. And with that, Brandon, let's dive in. You mentioned it off the top. Great time to be a member at OUinsider.com. because recruiting information is starting to flow in by the truckload.
Yes,
we are
it
out
is.
on the road. We are having conversations via the phone lines with some of Oklahoma's key targets in the 2026 and 2027 classes and passing all of that along to all of you on the OUinsider.com message board. And if you would like to chime in throughout the show, you are more than welcome to do so via the super chat function if you're watching live on YouTube. Now, we can't guarantee that we answer every single question that comes in via the traditional YouTube chat because there are typically so many of them that accumulate throughout the show. But if you toss us a super chat, we promise you that we'll get to every single super chat you throw at us. And we already have one from Mr. Regular, who contributed $5. Thank you, Mr. Regular. And he says, do you guys think at some point players will just tell y'all what you want to hear and y'all will have no value in the insider market? Well, Mr. Regular, here's the reality. Our job does not exclusively consist of talking to players. If talking to players was all we did, then not yet. We wouldn't have a ton of value because at that point, we're just parroting what the kids tell us, and it might be true and it might not be. But the job of being an insider, what comes with the territory as an insider, is having confidential conversations with a lot of different people from a lot of different areas, different programs, different regions behind the scenes to triangulate information, to corroborate information, and to make sure that the information we're presenting to all of you is accurate. Doesn't mean it always will be 100% on the money because, look, the crux of our job is trying to decide and trying to determine where kids are going to choose to play college football. And ultimately, the only one that knows with 100% certainty what is going on in a given kid's head is that kid themselves. And as we all know, we've all been 17 before. 17-year-old brains are subject to change with the wind. And minds are subject to change. And they do. And we've seen this in the past. And we've gotten burned by it in the past. But for the most part, The reason we can do what we do for a living, the reason why so many of y'all out there trust us with information, is because we know and talk to a lot of the right people that are going to point us in the direction of what's real and what's not in any given recruitment and in any given situation.
There you go.
Fair enough, Brandon?
You cleared it up. I don't need to say anymore. Yeah, we talked to far more than just you know the kids. I promise you that.
Yes.
That that
And in
seems to
some
be
cases, I promise you this is the case with at least a few recruitments every single cycle. At some point, the kid is the last person I want to talk to because I don't
facts.
trust him.
Fact. No, I
That's
mean
not
that.
always the case. Some kids are very transparent.
Yeah.
Some kids, man, you you can tell. You can sniff out the BS, and then you got to find other ways to figure out what's real and what's not in
Mhm.
their recruitment.
Yeah, and that's where up to that point you try to build up a circle of trust with the people around them, and that's where the information comes flowing from a lot. I think there was another, wasn't there two, if I'm not mistaken, or was there just one?
I believe there
Just
was
one.
just that
It's
one.
just one. Okay.
It's one that I saw
Well,
anyway.
cool. Where do we want to start, man? I know we had a podcast earlier today, really dove into nothing but recruiting. Obviously, we're going to talk some of that, but love to answer your questions. Uh, see what y'all have to say. Obviously, the super chat, that's what we will see the most because obviously you've already seen there's 100, 200 people in here and already, and it'll keep adding up and adding up and adding up with comments. And it's hard for us to continue to read all these comments while we're trying to also talk to each other. So if you do the super chat, obviously we thank you guys so much for that, and it obviously puts you guys right up the top and allows us to get to your question. Doesn't matter how much, we don't really care. Just want to be able to see your question bolded out. That way, uh, you know, you go to the top. Anyways, um, I the most important position is quarterback. So why not start with Peyton Houston?
Yeah, let's do that, man. Love that kid.
Yep, great
Love
kid.
him as a player. Love him as a person because he is a dynamic personality, man.
Mhm.
And it's not in the sense that he's super flamboyant or like out there yelling and shouting and all that type of stuff. He's a very subdued type of individual, but he commands the respect of everybody around him. And it's just kind of a natural thing. People are drawn to him. People gravitate towards him. Very honest, very straightforward when you get to talking with him.
Mhm.
He's not trying to hide anything. He's not trying to two-time anybody. He just keeps it real, and that has a tremendous effect with his peers to the point where regardless of where Peyton Houston commits to play college football in the 2027 class, there's going to be a ton of talent that flocks to whatever school he chooses in order to play with him because his mentality is very much, yeah, I want to go play college football somewhere. I want to find the best fit for me. But once I find the best fit for me, I want to bring the right crew to town such that we're going to win a national championship
Yeah.
wherever I go. And what's really, really interesting is that, you have two of the most heated rivals in all of college football going toe to toe, and they're not the only schools in the picture, but OU and Texas are very much locking horns, if you will, in the race for Peyton Houston right now. So yesterday at the Under Armour camp, man, he was easily the most polished passer there. The zip on the ball that he generates, the accuracy with which he throws, the mechanical precision with which he throws. There's really no flaw in Peyton Houston's game as a thrower of the football. If anything marks his undoing at the next level, it's certainly not going to be the physical. It's going to have to be the mental because physically it's all there.
Yeah.
It's all
No,
there.
he,
Everything you look for, again, arm strength, accuracy, uh, an ability to repeat the mechanics over and over and over again and consistently deliver clean balls on the run or from the pocket, as well as the ability to move around, right? The mobility. He can really run. He's not like a 4-4 type of guy, but he can run. And the ability to go off script, the ability to create outside the pocket. It's something that I've seen firsthand, having gotten the opportunity to watch him on Friday nights multiple times. He's a really, really special football player. And
Yeah.
I firmly believe that if he is not number one in the entire 2027 class, regardless of position, when the cycle wraps, he's going to be right there
He
with whoever is.
well, he is a great, great player. He was so smooth. I couldn't get over just, I've seen him several times just like you, and I could not get over how smooth it. And it's not that the smoothness like overwhelms you and makes you feel like, "Oh my gosh, what in the world's happening?" It's more to it. It's that it's so impressive that it still catches you off guard even though you know that's what he is.
Everything comes easy to him, or at least
So
that's what it
easy.
looks like. He's drilled it enough, and he's a hard enough worker that you understand that it it hasn't just shown up. It's the
No.
it's the product of a very intentional process that started when he was very, very young with his dad, Sean. Uh,
Hmm.
but it's gotten to the point where he does everything so fluidly, so effortlessly that he doesn't even really have to think about it. And for a 16-year-old, there aren't a whole lot of 16-year-olds that have that kind of muscle memory, just kind of automating everything they do at the quarterback position. He's a special kid, man.
Yeah, and he reminds me so much of what you would see in like a Ben Arbuckle offense too. Like that's the type of quarterback that you want. Like somebody that you don't need a runner. You just need somebody that's mobile and that can get around and extend plays like you talked about. I think at the end of the day, if Oklahoma can pull off back to back of Jaden O'Neal and Peyton Houston, that would be epic. Here's the thing, and it's something I got to ask you about. Obviously, they played on the same 7-on-7 team for a while. They know each other, right? They've been around each other for a long time, grown up in the game around each other. Did does that scare one of those guys away at some point, or do you think they're so understanding of their gifts? I think you know Peyton better than I do. Jaden to me is one of those guys that's super confident, not afraid of
Yeah.
competition. Like just bring it. Um, talk to how was Peyton in that aspect? Because I'm sure you're going to say the same, but put it in your words, I guess.
I mean, uh, he's one of those guys that understands how good he is. Like he's under no delusions. And, typically, if you're using that phraseology, you're using it in terms of a guy who thinks he's better than he is. But I think it's quite the opposite with Peyton Houston. And, kind of like you were saying with Jaden O'Neal, but, Peyton's a guy that understands how talented he is and is not at all insecure about it. There are plenty of kids that think they're better than they are. Um, I don't know if you can get much better than Peyton Houston is as a sophomore in high school. And I think he understands that there's a lot of responsibility that comes with who he is and where he's at and the position that he plays. And he's not really worried about any of the ancillary factors like who he might be competing against at the next level in the quarterback room. So I think
Yeah.
if you wind up with Jaden O'Neal and Peyton Houston, you get two guys that step in and right from the jump, man, they're they're gunning for number one. And they're not going to be told that they can't attain it. They're not, and I doubt either of them would be told that they can't attain it. But it's a matter of, is X going to beat out Y or is Y going to beat out X? That'd be a really fun quarterback battle between those two if
Hmm.
it ever came to fruition at Oklahoma, because we're not talking about a Kyler Murray Austin Kendall battle at that
No,
point. No,
no.
we're talking more like a Baker Kyler type of vibe where, and I'm not saying both of them are going to be Heisman winners, but like they're going to be at each other's throats in a good way all throughout fall camp.
Yeah. Yeah. So where do you think Oklahoma stands?
I would put Oklahoma top three right now, top three with Texas and probably with LSU. right now. Um, I'm just not convinced that LSU doesn't decide to take Elijah Haven or Malachi Ziegler for that matter. And just call it good in the 2027. It's super interesting that the state of Louisiana in the 2027 class happens to have three kids that are probably going to be five-star quarterbacks, Brandon, in Haven, Ziegler, and Peyton Houston. Now, um, it took LSU a little bit longer to come around on Peyton Houston, which is surprising, given that pretty much every other major school in the country came around on him much sooner than the Tigers did. But they ultimately offered him. They ultimately started to recruit him seriously. And so,
Yep.
yeah, I'd put them in the top three alongside OU and Texas right now. Georgia's in the mix. He's going to go up to Oregon next month. I know that much. Mississippi State's pushing hard. Texas A&M still very much in the picture. There's a long way to go in that recruitment. And
Hmm.
there was once a time, where I felt like he was going to be a guy that commits early. And I still don't think he'll take forever. If he were committed by the end of the calendar year, that wouldn't shock me. But this is no longer a recruitment where I'm like kind of sitting here on pins and needles wondering, could this thing just kind of end out of nowhere? I think at this point, he takes it into the summer. And then maybe, that's kind of what Jaden O'Neal did, right? He took his recruitment into the summer before his junior year and then locked it in because he kind of knew where he wanted to be. I think we'll start to get a sense of where Peyton Houston wants to be this spring. And then come the summer, if somebody can change his mind, great. If not, I would think it would be about that time, summer, fall, where you could look for Houston to start to lock it in, or to lock it in, I should say, and start to recruit his
Hmm.
peers in the 2027 class to come with him. So and again, that's nothing anything has told me specifically. That's just me kind of piecing together, based on a variety of different conversations, what the rough timeline might be for this thing.
So outside of Peyton Houston, who would you say would be the most influential target that was there as far as like that would interest the the masses?
How about Kevin Ford Jr.?
I knew that's what you were going to say.
Yeah. Well, and
Um,
that's at this point, Brandon, and this is a good place to jump off. We should pay off the tease because we put it in the thumbnail, we put it in the title. How many guys do you think you could confidently predict into Oklahoma's class right now, alongside the four commits? Because I feel like,
okay, let's do that. Let's do it. Let's do it.
yeah,
Let's have fun with this.
like
All right,
how
I'm
many
down.
guys would you say right
I'm
now
down.
are objectively OU leans in the 2026 class?
Got KJ Ford.
There's a real easy short list here. KJ
Yeah,
Ford's certainly on it.
yeah, obviously
Caden
Caden
Jones is
Jones.
certainly on
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Alger
Alger
Miles.
Miles, Mason
Yep,
James,
yep.
um,
Uh,
Noah Best.
Noah Best. Yeah,
That's five on the
probably
offensive side of the ball.
Primus.
I'm
Probably
not there
Primus.
with Primus, man. Um,
Hmm.
I think that one's pretty wide open,
I
more
talked
wide
to
open than I
somebody. I
thought.
actually talked to somebody the day before, and they feel Primus is a OU lean, and they were from Midland. We'll say that.
Okay.
So,
Okay. See,
but
I was initially under the impression earlier this winter that it was OU Tech and then the rest for Primus.
Arizona State's in it for sure.
Yeah. And I think that feels to me like one that could get weird. And I'm not saying weird
Yeah,
is the
yeah.
wrong word.
Arizona
I'm
State,
saying
man.
that one could take a twist during
Yeah,
OU season. That's
Dillingham's
the
got
sense I
some
get.
magic behind him. Yeah, he does. I'll give it up. I'll get it up to Kitty, man. That dude can recruit, bro. So yeah, I feel you. I feel you on that. I totally get what you're saying. Um, oh, Taj Overton. I think that would be
Really?
one I would. Yeah. Come on. I mean, he's an Oklahoma kid. Like I would say DJ Ackerson. I know Oklahoma State, Kansas State. I know he's playing hard to get publicly, but I just can't. Those two, I can't get myself to sit here and go, they're not going to be Sooners at the end of the day. There is, I, I cannot fathom Brent Venom outside of Day Day Sims. Who has he? And Day Sims wasn't in Oklahoma, but for 1 year, mind you.
Hmm.
Who who has he missed out on that he absolutely wanted in the state of Oklahoma? Because they do a really good job of prioritizing the state, like better than anybody I can remember in a long time. I mean, God's honest truth, Barry Switzer, and fans are going to hate this analogy because they already compare him to this coach because of the win loss record in a couple of seasons. But John Blake was really good about going about in state kids too. So,
Oh
like,
boy.
and Bob Stoops was, but he kind of got away from it a little bit. And then, to build it back, I think he caught himself trying to go after the big names when they got real big after 2010. And about 2013, 14, 15, he started getting back into that go after Oklahoma. And then look what happened. The Oklahoma kids, when you have a foundational set of a bunch of Oklahoma kids, notoriously you win because they love the university. That's what they're about. So I don't know. Yeah, Nate Roberts is a good one, but I, I don't know. Yeah, Cruel. I would say Jake Cruel. Jake Krill would be
Krell.
another
Yeah.
one. Yeah, Krill. I would say he's another one. Good. Hey, John Smith coming hot with Jake Krill. Uh, Davion Gross is another one I think you could probably potentially pinpoint. Uh, you think Katoa?
I would not pick Oklahoma for Katoa right now. I think that battle is primarily between OU and SMU. Now, or I'm sorry, Texas and SMU. I said OU and SMU. I
Okay.
think OU could get back into that. And I still think they're in it, to be clear. Like he's going to
Mm.
OV. I think it's primarily Texas and SMU that are battling for Katoa right now. Everybody else is kind of elbowing for a third seat at the table. And people are talking about Felix Ojo in the YouTube chat. Like,
Not happening.
I know, and I'll say this: like it was at the Under Armour Dallas event last year where we all walked away thinking, okay, Michael Fasusi's going to Texas. But even
True.
so, there was an understanding
That Oklahoma's
that
in it. Yeah.
Oklahoma was the school that could unseat Texas, and like it wasn't far fetched that they could
Yeah.
unseat
Correct.
Texas in that
Yeah.
recruitment. With Ojo, if there's a school poised to unseat Texas in that picture, it's Ohio State right now,
Correct.
not
Yep.
OU.
Yep.
I
No, you're
I'd be
right.
surprised right now if Felix Ojo OV'd to Oklahoma.
And it makes sense because look, I know fans hate to hear this, but what Oklahoma's recruited at tackle over the last few cycles, there's a reason why he looks at it and goes, and Felix Ojo's an elite, but he's got it. He's going to have to, as good as he is, and Parker can attest to this, he's going to have to put on weight. That's the difference between him and Fasusi and him and Foje.
Not that much though. Not that much.
How
Yeah, he's
much
gonna
is
have to
he?
put on weight.
Bro, he's skinny right now. He's not
No,
310.
he's not that skinny. Yeah, he's not 310, but
He's not a 290 pounder like
he's right
Fasusi
about
either.
290. Yeah.
If he's 290, that is the slenderest 290 I've ever seen in my life. He's skinny, Parker.
I
Like,
listen.
I need to
I
see
think
his verified. I got to call Lugs and Hubert and see if I can get the verified numbers for him.
yeah, please do because like to me, Felix Ojo is exactly what you want it to look like.
Oh, fact, the
Exactly
frame
what
is
you want it to look like.
ridiculous. His
Yeah.
upside is huge, huge. I will never argue that. He may have the biggest upside I've seen in a long time. And that's saying Michael Fasusi Parker, because Fasusi has a ridiculous upside. So does Foje. I just, his frame is ridiculous, and it's almost unfair how much he can put on weight, right? Um, what was the somebody said something earlier, or we were talking about it, and oh my gosh. Well, we
Uh,
were talking about the guaranteed guys, and
where do you think things stand right now between OU and Valen Sohn?
that's where I
Uh,
was going. Thank you. That's where I was going. Okay, so interesting. I, somebody really close to him, and somebody that runs kind of that European land. You know who I'm talking about.
yeah.
Um, called me Saturday afternoon. Kate and I were driving to go to train at North Texas, and I got a call, and the guy said, "Hey, can you come to Europe to help cover a camp that Sone's going to be in when he comes home?" Now, I had to ask myself, why are you calling an OU rivals guy, not national, but OU rivals got to do that? Well, here's the thing. Valen Sone has been to Oklahoma 3 times in the last 3 months. And I believe he went to a game last year as well. So 4 times in like the last 6 or 7 months. He's taking an official visit to Oklahoma. From my understanding, Oklahoma, if they aren't the top, they're dang near the top right now for him. Todd Bates has pinpointed him. I I don't know, man. Like that's an interesting, very, very interesting recruitment to follow because he's not really from this area. So, like, what is important to Americans is not important to him. And that was made very clear to me the first time I ever spoke to the kid. Like, he wants to feel at home. Of course, the NIL portion's important, but he plays like the position outside of offensive tackle and quarterback and safety, I guess, that we've seen Oklahoma sit there and go to, right? Like, so that's going to work. They're going to throw bags at the top defensive tackles because that's what Oklahoma does. That's what Brent Venables does. He knows that's going to build the foundation for his future. So I think Oklahoma's in a great spot for Valenson. As a matter of fact, I'm slated to talk to him and his uh I don't want to call him his mentor uh here this week. And I should have another big update on him coming forward. So we're gonna know like the exact date of officials. We're gonna know like everything when I get done talking to him. It's gonna be really cool. But he's going back to the beginning of March and he's gonna camp out there, like hit up a couple of camps in Switzerland, in London, in Germany.
They
And
do
so that
camps in Switzerland and London and Germany.
they most certainly do.
Wow.
Football's becoming a big
Okay.
deal over there, particularly
Apparently
with the high
so.
school. Yeah, particularly NFL Europe or whatever. What's it called? The Alcancumi came from in
NFL Academy. NFL
NFL Academy.
Academy. Yeah.
Yeah, NFL Academy is a big deal in those 3 countries, and France is another one that's becoming quite big. So very interesting. Uh, yep. Anyways,
So who do you think
Drew,
who
I
who are you
appreciate
worried
you
about
by
right
the
there?
way,
Who
but
who to be worried about with Valdenzone?
hmm, I think Virginia Tech was one, Penn State. Um, Ohio State. Like those are kind of the programs that I've been told. Like a lot of them
Virginia
are over the
Tech. Hmm.
well, he's in Virginia.
Well, okay, yeah, but even so,
Yeah, I get it, but like
for a guy that has his pick the litter, that is a little surprising.
it is, but I think he's just starting to get, rolling. I'm gonna assume that the answer that I'm gonna get is quite different this next time around when I talk to him this week. That was literally 3 weeks ago. And you know how many times the answer changed? Penn State and Oklahoma and Ohio State have been kind of the common denominator, and particularly Oklahoma. Like Penn State kind of has come up. Um, Obviously, Ohio State's starting to come up. I mean, he's getting offers from everybody right now. USC was one that he's been looking into as well. So, I mean, Eric Henderson's doing a fantastic job out there at USC. I'll give him his props. Like he's a dynamo, and he has the backtrack right. He coached arguably the best defensive tackle in the last 20 years, right? And Aaron Donald for like 7 years. So, I mean, that's hard to do. Um, Man, Drew, yeah, I mean, we go with Jeff Christensen down in Texas. I appreciate the suggestion though. He trains Dylan Raiola, Mahomes, all those guys. I trust him. He's a good guy. Uh, anyways, I've had a couple people suggest like in the comments suggest trainers. Deuce Gerald's. Oh my gosh, like we haven't talked about him in a while. I need to get like his schedule. Supposedly he's coming for spring. Um, Oklahoma's still in it. I think it's Ohio State, Oklahoma for him. Honestly, like if I was going to pick, obviously Ole Miss, being that his dad played at Ole Miss, I think those would be the teams that you look at and you go. And LSU is another one. I believe Texas is trying to get in there a little bit. Um, as this weekend goes, Bagman's funny. As this weekend goes, who stood out the most? Like surprised you?
Surprised me, Alger Miles.
Yeah, yeah. You and I both agree on that one. Okay,
And
outside of Aljar
yeah,
Miles.
well, not because I walked in thinking, oh, this kid's a scrub, and then he was actually good. No, I walked in thinking, okay, Alger Miles is good. Alger Miles looked great
Yeah, he
on
did. He was
Sunday.
ridiculous. Yeah,
Great. That kid looked like he looked the part of a top 150 dude. You know who he reminds me of? Zion Kearney.
yeah. That is a good. I honestly, because his frame is so big, like I was shocked how big he is. I had seen him. I
No,
saw him
yeah,
last year, but I just didn't. I didn't. He's put on some really good muscle. He's
yeah,
gotten
well,
taller.
yeah, and like he's if I'm making a wide receiver comp, he reminds me of Kearney. But like if we're just talking physique here, if we're just talking about the body type, the guy he reminds me of is Sammy Omosigho. Seeing
That
Sammy
is a really
Omosigho,
good one. Yeah, it's a
yeah,
really
as a
good one.
senior in high school, he looks like if you if you did silhouettes of Alger Miles and Sammy Omosigho as seniors in high school, they're the exact same. And
That's
Sammy
a good
Omosigho
one.
was a guy that had P4 offers to play wide
At wide
receiver.
receiver, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
linebacker was his thing, and he wasn't quite as good a wide receiver. Well, he wasn't near as good a wide receiver as Alger Miles is going to be, I think. So linebacker was going to be his thing, and wide receiver similarly though, Alger did play both sides of the ball for 2 years. He was a wide receiver slash edge rusher for a while there, but really honed in on wide receiver as a junior at Kaufman, and it's become apparent that's where his future is going to be. So, but
Hmm.
like physically, that's maybe the best comparison I can make because he and Samuel Masigo are almost the exact same person in terms of stature and frame. If you're looking at the junior going on senior in high school version of them,
That's a real. I mean, that's really good. Okay, so outside of him, like, because I think you and I both walked away thinking he was almost better. Like, I can just see 55 just running open every time. Like, that's all. I can close my eyes just watching. Just it was crazy. Um, I'm gonna say, and I'll just say it. I thought Cooper Witten was freaking. God.
he's gonna be a dude. He's gonna
I
be a
I
dude.
can't get over how big he is and how well he covers. You Sooners fans, I think OU leads, just so y'all are aware, like got to talk to Jason Witten for like 45 minutes. And I didn't do a lot of talking. I just sat there and listened because it was like just information and just listening to a legend talk football and what he's seeing was just Parker. I was sitting there going, and I'm not a Dallas Cowboy guy, like not a fan at all. But that was just something I'm going to sit there and I'm going to soak up that knowledge like crazy. And listening to him talk and like pinpoint certain things that were going on and that he saw in certain players was really cool and interesting. But his son, like he never would say when his son did bad, and he got real quiet when he did good, like real quiet. Like, cause you knew you could see the pride beaming in him, but
Mhm.
he didn't want to turn to me and like nudge me, like, "Hey, check that out," type of deal, which was cool. But I just would look over at him and go, "That was freaking unbelievable," because his kid, if you all don't know, like, we're talking about Alger Miles size people, like in frame. Think about that playing corner, but he's not a corner. He's a safety, but he's not a safety. He's a linebacker. He's a corner safety playing. He's a linebacker playing corner safety, and his feet are like somebody that's been trained one on one press coverage like stupid good. He's what, 6'3", 210?
Thereabouts. I'd say
Yeah,
6'2", 6'3" might be a bit generous.
6'2",
Six
210,
six
but
two
he's
210 easy. Yeah, maybe 215.
and just locked. Didn't matter what receiver it was. He won 90% of those battles. Mason James got him. I think
Who,
Alger got
who,
him.
who didn't Mason James get?
That's true. But that's about it. Everybody else, he just locked the heck down. It was awesome to watch. And he got invited as a junior to the Under Armour game. Pretty special. And for those that think Tennessee is just going to walk away with this, sure, maybe at the end of the day he decides he can't go away from his dad's alma mater. But straight from Jason Witten's mouth, they are trying if there's a lot of them that want him to go and walk his own walk with the pressure that he would have at Tennessee would be just insane.
Yeah.
You add that dynamic with the fact that he and DeMarco Murray are super close, that DeMarco Murray is super close with Cooper as well. Brandon Hall, Jay Valai have done a phenomenal job recruiting. Like, if he wasn't 2027, I would put in a pick for Oklahoma right now. So, we haven't even talked about KJ Ford. We'll get there. But I'm going to let you go. Who else do you think fans need to hear about
I
from
mean,
the Under Armour game?
it's not a new opinion of mine, but I'll keep standing on it. Mason James is a top 100 player in the country. Mason James is the real deal,
Yes.
and he proved that once again on Sunday. Man, I
Oh, real quick. There was a Cheetah, by the way. They're recruiting Cooper Witten at Cheetah. Go ahead.
dude,
I'm sorry to interrupt you. People were asking.
yeah,
That was my fault for not bringing that up, and I didn't want to get lost in translation there. Go ahead. Sorry,
he's
Parker.
just he Mason James is absolutely one of the most sudden wide receivers I've ever seen when it comes to changing direction, breaking off routes, making cuts, and his release too. Like that's what is impressive. He gets you from the jump.
Yep.
Like within the first three steps, you're cooked. And then from there, it's, the speed and the precision route running ability, just eliminating any doubt. But Mason James is just so good at releasing off the line and can beat you so many different ways in that
Mhm.
regard. He really is an incredibly polished wide receiver that really doesn't have a weakness in his game, which is why I think, I look at that kid and I think he's going to be incredibly productive at the college level. Incredibly productive. Because the one thing he just does consistently, and again, it comes down to the little things. It comes down to the release and the hips and the acceleration, deceleration, just how naturally that all happens for him. He's a guy that creates separation. And at the college level, if you're creating separation, you're going to get the ball thrown to you
Yep.
because it makes the window of opportunity a lot wider for the quarterback. The ball doesn't have to be in a window, or in
Yep.
a tight window.
Yep.
You create separation, you give the quarterback a little bit more leeway to deliver the ball and not necessarily have to place it quite as perfectly. And moreover, especially in the short and intermediate game, you create separation, you're moving the chains. And so for Mason James, like he's a guy that I think is going to have the ability to operate effectively at all three levels in
Hmm.
college. And that's going to make him a very, very productive wideout. And I think certainly a guy that because of what the production has the potential to be, somebody I could foresee him being in the Biletnikoff conversation one day.
Mm.
How how you feel about Ryan Broyles as a comp there.
Almost perfect.
Yeah.
Just because, like, you were talking about getting separation, and my mind goes, okay, but in zone, it's not always about separation. It's about your football IQ. Do you know when to sit in a zone and where to sit in that zone to find that open space for the quarterback to hit you? And I've been to a couple of Mason James's games. I've watched him in 7-on-7. Granted, the first 7-on-7 I actually paid attention to him at. He did a backflip halfway through it and rolled his ankle, sprained his ankle, like severe high ankle sprain.
Oof.
Like landed. He's lucky he didn't break his ankle after he scored a touchdown because he landed in like a little hole in the back corner, like 5 yards out of the end zone. He was being all creative. Anyways, um, but he's smart. Like he really is. His football IQ is leaps and bounds beyond what it should be at this point in his career. And Norman North's quarterback wasn't great last year. Let's be honest. The offense wasn't great. They made it to the playoffs because of Mason James. That's the
I
reality.
so I will say I don't know that that's an entirely fair assessment. The first 4 or 5 games of the season were rough for Norman North, and I got the chance to watch him a couple times. I'm not really sure what the offensive game plan was. It was weird. They figured it out. They made the playoffs. They got the offense rolling, and obviously their quarterback Owen
I
Eshelman
didn't see
wound
the
up signing
beginning. I
with.
saw the last half. So
Yeah,
yeah,
they
last
he
few
won.
games, last half.
Their quarterback wound up signing with Washington State. He's a pretty good
No
player.
doubt. Yeah, no
Yeah.
doubt. But like I guess the two games I watched, I did not think he was that great. So he did not. But granted, one of those games was Bigsby at Bigsby, and that was rough, rough, rough.
Yeah. Show
So
me a
like
quarterback that won't
that's
struggle
fair.
at
That's fair.
Bixby.
That's why I threw that disclaimer out there. So I mean, there you go. So and obviously I think was it Norman the other one I watched? Or was it It might have been Mustang actually.
Hmm.
He he was in a what when I say not great, he was good, but not like what like somebody when I say Washington State, I'm thinking John Mateer, Cam Ward now, and that's not doesn't mean he's not going to become that because they weren't John Mateer or Cam Ward before they were, but they weren't. If you get what I'm saying, so um, I just thought Mason James made him look really good sometimes. Maybe that's a wrong way to look at it. I don't know. Um, do you think Oklahoma? Yeah, obviously you said he would earlier. Is there a world where Mason James doesn't go to OU?
I think it would take a lot.
Okay.
A lot.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
At this point, and I said this on the radio today. I said it on OUinsider.com. I'll restate it here. I'm perfectly comfortable being on the record with this prediction. If it happens,
Mhm.
fine. If not, okay, fine. But I feel as though what's going to happen is that Mason James and Alger Miles both are going to commit to Oklahoma at the Champ U barbecue. No sooner, no later. Because just the
Okay.
sense I get from both of those guys is that they're going to check every box in the process, but they understand who was there for them first,
Mm-hmm.
who has shown the most love to them throughout the process, and ultimately where their hearts are at. And the heart can be a fickle thing. Maybe that
Right.
changes for one of them in the next few months. It could. I'm not totally dismissing that notion, but I don't think it will. And the fact that Emmett Jones was first to offer both Mason James and Alger Miles, not only first too, but first by a pretty sizable margin, that to me suggests, and it gives me all the more confidence that this is where things are headed. That's so, or I should say, that said, with both of those guys, what you have seen is that they're not rushing anything. They're grateful for every opportunity that they've been given, and they want to, at the very least, give other schools a chance. And I respect that. And, they're going to give
Yeah.
other schools a chance. Like Mason's going to take other OVs, Alger's going to take other OVs, but Oklahoma gets the last shot at them. And I've always compared Alger's recruitment to that of Emmanuel Choice, who did very much the same charade, if you will. Got his
Hmm.
first offer from OU, ended up with 30 something additional offers, took a bunch of OVs, but saved OU for last and committed on the visit. And that was that. I am anticipating that's what's going to happen with Mason James and Alger Miles as well.
Yeah. No, that seems very, very plausible. Before I get to KJ Ford, because I know everybody wants to hear my thoughts on KJ Ford, the elite defensive end out of Duncanville. We want to talk about our friends over at Refine U Med Spa. Achieving a healthy weight can be challenging to do on your own, but you're not alone. The skilled team at Refine U Med Spa offers treatments that complement weight loss goals and long term weight loss support. So you achieve a weight that supports good health and self esteem. You can achieve your ideal look and feel with Refine U state of the art practices that offer a diverse selection of aesthetic treatments, providing services that benefit every body, shape, and skin type. Look, your wife, maybe she wants the Botox, they do the lip filler, they do the detox as well. The derma fillers, they do laser treatments to remove unwanted sunspots on your skin, all sorts of stuff. Obviously, they do the weight loss shop, whether it's Ozempic, semaglutide, all that. Like they do that for you, and they have doctors on site. They have a skilled team there that is just great at making sure the patients reach the goals that they want as far as their weight and their body, and do it in a manner that's healthy and safe. Refine U has also been voted the number one med spa in Oklahoma City for the past 5 consecutive years by 405 Magazine, mainly because they don't sell procedures, they sell results. So call Refine U Med Spa today for a free consult, 405 849 5391, or book online at refineuokc.com. All right. D line. First, you got to give it up to Jalen Battle. Edmond Santa Fe defensive tackle showed up, was a late invite that we worked on getting an invite for him down there. Talked to Craig Hubert, Dimitri Warren, John Luganville, all of them. Got him in, and he didn't disappoint. He showed up and won the MVP, Parker. Like, dominated. So there's that.
Picked up
Um,
his first P4 today from Houston.
yes, yes, he did. And crazy how that happened. The funny thing, do you remember what Craig Hubert said when we were leaving? He
I
said, "What
don't
I like to see the most." We were standing outside. I think you were still interviewing Peyton Houston, by the way.
gotcha.
And he said, we were standing outside, and he said, I love giving invites to all the super talented guys, and I love watching all the elite guys show up. He goes, but it's guys like Jalen Battle that show up and they perform and they win an award that nobody thought they were going to win because they outperformed everybody's expectations and everybody there. And then on Monday and Tuesday following that camp, you start to see, I picked up this offer. I picked up that offer. I picked up this offer. I picked up that offer. And then when the film rolls out of the camp on Wednesday and Thursday, the offers get bigger and bigger and bigger. He said that brings him the biggest smile ever. So you got to give it up first off to Craig and all them for it being more than just about the elite guys. It's about getting the guys and helping the kids. But also Jalen, man, showing up and showing out. Joseph Graves, 2027, Tulsa, Booker T. Washington, Oklahoma offer, has a Florida offer, Arkansas offer, all that. He showed out really well. But so did KJ Ford, 2026 defensive end out of Duncanville. And Parker, obviously, Sam Spiegelman has a prediction in. I'm going to say it right here, right now. I didn't put it on the board, but I did say I was close.
We're going to get a live prediction right here.
You're getting a live prediction. I'm
Let's
picking Oklahoma.
go.
Picking Oklahoma. And I wish to God that I could post
Show
the
me your phone.
actual.
Show me your phone as you enter the prediction.
Okay, I will.
We gotta see it live
Okay.
with our eyeballs.
So I wish I could do um the
I'll do it.
video
I'll do it
interview.
with you too, by the way, because I'm right there
Okay.
in the same boat.
So let me get there. But yeah, the I wish I could do the video interview. This all just like his, and you listen to it, just his unwillingness to give it up to Texas. It was He was awkward, bro.
You ready? You ready to do this live for the people?
Uh, yeah, but it just told me mine failed. Hold on.
His future cast has failed.
Yeah, they didn't like me. I'm gonna try again. Try one more time here with the future cast. Maybe.
Oop.
Boom, done. Forecast saved. Bam.
Okay. I'm doing it too. I'm doing it too.
There we go.
There we
We're
go.
on it. There you go, people.
KJ Ford to Oklahoma. That's the prediction.
Dude. Okay, so here's the deal. If you go read on OU Insider VIP a little bit, I'll give a little bit of snippet here. He was asked, "Do you plan like what is it about that you like Texas?" And he goes, "It's just Texas." That was his answer. And then they said, "Well, do you think you would take an OV to Texas?" No, that's his answer. And then they said, "What about unofficial this spring? Any plans?" He looks around. No. Um, then finally, a reporter goes, "Okay, is there anything they can do? Can you talk about anything Texas can do?" Not that I know of right now. That was his answer. Those were his answers for Texas. Okay, Texas A&M, a problem. Alabama could be a problem. Like both those could be problems. Visiting A&M on June 13th, visiting Alabama May 31st, May 30th through the June 1st. So, yeah, that they're in there. But he's going to be back to Oklahoma to multiple spring practices, could be back for the spring game. And his official visit is the 20th through the 22nd of June. That final weekend, essentially, that everybody's going to be taking visits. I expect an announcement shortly after that. Um, he talked about Oklahoma incessantly. He wasn't coerced. He would bring up Oklahoma as like the school. Anybody that would ask, "What's your top schools?" Oklahoma was the first one out of his mouth every time. It was funny though when Powers asked, about coaching change. KJ looked at me. He's like staring, and looked at me. He looked at because he knew I was the Oklahoma guy standing there. He looked at me and he goes, "Wait, Coach." I said, "I think he's talking about Zach Alley. I think he's talking about Zach Alley." He goes, "Oh yeah, I've already talked to the new coaches over there. I've even talked to Ben Arbuckle, the new OC. Like, I'm good with the coaches. I can't wait to get back up there here in a few weeks and go talk to him again." And everybody there just kind of looked and goes, "That kid's going to Oklahoma." Like, obviously things can change. It's February, but it's trending really, really well for Oklahoma right now. Really, really well. The things he said about OU were just crazy good. So, is there anybody you walked away like a big name going, that person's probably going to Oklahoma? What about Drew
Uh,
Evers? I think it's A&M right now, but like,
I think it's A&M too.
could
I think
Oklahoma
it's A&M
make
too.
make a run there?
They could. They got to get on the OV schedule.
Which is weird that he hasn't put them in an OV.
Well, and see, it's not that weird though because, and
I
I'll give him
get
credit. Like
they give him
he's
a
a
chance
very
even with the Knicks situation. I get it.
yeah no. Yeah, he's a very intelligent, like intellectual type kid. Um, he and his family have gone about the process very deliberately, very thoroughly. And I talked to him maybe 3 weeks back, and his whole spiel was, I've been around Oklahoma so much. I genuinely don't know if I'll take an official visit or not because I'm not
Mhm.
sure what's left that I haven't seen yet. I think
Yeah.
I'm familiar enough with Oklahoma. So he said I might take an OU official, I might not, but I pretty well know what I'm signing up for, what I would be signing up for at Oklahoma. But I agree, A&M is kind of where the vibe is right now.
Parents alma mater. Yeah.
Yeah, mom's alma mater definitely.
Yeah. Mom. Yeah.
So a guy that is going to visit Oklahoma in March, and I reported this on OU Insider yesterday, but a guy that's just come onto the radar at the linebacker position, which the board is
Mm.
starting to get wider there now that Nate Driley and Wes Goodwin are
Hmm.
in town and working. Quebec from Carthage.
Yep.
Kip Lewis was from Carthage. That worked out pretty well for Oklahoma.
Yep.
Now, he doesn't have a relationship with Quebec. They never overlapped at Carthage. But Beck told me that Brent Venables has taken the lead in his recruitment. So you got the head ball coach personally sewing into their effort to get him to Norman. He's going to visit on March 8th. It's a possibility that he OVs to OU. We'll see, but that right now, especially with some of the stuff he said about Texas and about Texas A&M and M and some of the other schools locally that you would expect to be heavily in the mix. I I don't think right now his heart is set on any place, not not anywhere close either. And so that presents a window for Oklahoma to
What do you
really
think
make
of
some
Texas
noise.
A&M though? Like, do you think that that might be the team that would cause the biggest problem?
Yeah, I would say so.
I would agree.
Um,
Yeah.
I would, but again, like there's a window of opportunity here for
Hmm.
Oklahoma. This is not far enough down the road between him and any particular school that you're going to have to go above and beyond to change his mind on anything. He's
Yeah.
got a pretty open mind right now, got a bunch of OVs that he's eyeing, but Oklahoma's got as much of a chance as anybody right now in that race.
If you had to pick the deepest and most talented position at the end of this 2026 cycle that Oklahoma signs, which position would that be? And two, I'll give State Five Stinks a little gift here, a little gimme on the question because it was too good to overlook. Plus, it was the last one I saw. Over under on 5-star commits in the 26 class at 2.
1.5. Call 1.5.
So would you say take the over or the under on 1.5 then?
I'd say take the under. I bet they get 1 5-star, just like they did this past year, this past cycle with Fasusi. Did
Hmm.
you ask what you think the deepest
Yeah, yeah,
position
yeah,
in
yeah.
OU's class will be?
Like the
I would say
deepest,
wide receiver. Wide
most
receiver
talented.
or offensive line. Those two. If we're talking quantity and quality
So like
combined, wide receiver or offensive line.
that's great. The fans are going to love to hear that because of what happened in 2024, obviously. Um, mm, Trying to think who the other defensive end would be for Oklahoma this year. Who would be the other defensive end for Oklahoma? You got Ford.
Kamarian Johnson.
Yeah, probably Kamari Johnson. You're probably right. So if you got Ford, Kamari Johnson, let's say you got Overton. You're either going to get. I think you're the last guy you're going to take is either going to be you're going one of three players is going to go to Oklahoma. So Valen Stone, Tank Carrington, or Deuce Gerald's. I think you get one of those three. And I think if you're Oklahoma, you walk away and going, yes, if that happens. So that's why. Oh, Jake Krill. Yeah, that's a good point. BMD killer coming up big. Jake Krill would be probably the other one I would take, right?
They're going to take three, you'd assume.
Yeah. So,
Krell, Kamarian Johnson,
so
Kevin
that my
Ford,
point
like that.
is, D line could be just as talented, but you're probably right. Beanbo's recruiting so well on the offensive line right now, and so is Emmett Jones, and it's a necessity that they do. I think you can almost guarantee that Chavis and Bates are going to get theirs. I think they've proven it, right? I think the confidence is there for a reason. I think you look at safety, and I think they probably take two, and probably going to take two really, really good ones because, Brandon Hall. One of them, I would not be shocked if they took Braden Presley, excuse me. Now, do I think he ends up at Oklahoma State? Man, there's a good chance. But if he doesn't, I do think it's Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Um, what a what about safety? Like Odds are Oklahoma gets who?
That's one I'm not really sure about yet. And I don't think they are either. Like
Mm, well, yeah, they don't know who
there's
they
there's
want.
obviously a chance they flip Markel Ford. That's on the
Yeah.
table.
If he
Donovan
ends up at that school that it is harder if they ends up at the school that, he might go to.
Donovan Webb is certainly a name to know. We got to
Yep.
see him yesterday. He was really impressive. Um, who else, Brandon?
You got Braden, obviously you got
Yeah,
Braden
Braden Presley.
Braden Press. Well, no, there's more. Jordan Davis, Jordan Deck. But I don't Oklahoma and Jordan Deck seem at like a standstill right now. Not because of Deck, but more Oklahoma just wanting to, fill some things out a little bit. Um, Trying to think. Um, Jacob Eberhart would be one that I would tend to think. I think Oklahoma's a decent spot for him as well. Just going to be tough to get him away from Missouri if they go all in the way I'm sure they will at some point. I mean, Ryan Gilbert,
At corner, yeah.
but he can play safety. I mean, he's I know he's only 5'10", 170, but he plays I think physical enough for safety.
I think he's more of a corner, but
Oh,
I'll
I
grant.
agree. I agree. Chase Calca, I know Oklahoma just
Eh,
offered him.
not
Uh,
happening. He's a horn.
no. Um, there's a whole story behind that, but yeah. Um, ooh, you want to know who Oklahoma could surprise people and end up with potentially?
Who's that?
Brandon Arrington.
That's your that's your best shot at a 5-star right now. It's Brandon
Correct.
Arrington.
Correct. I mean, who else 5 stars are they actually in on right now?
That's
Are
it.
they?
I mean, that's literally it, Brandon. Like among guys that are 5 stars right this second,
Yeah.
just him. It's just him.
Crazy. But obviously, Jaden O'Neal could become a 5 star at some point, um, depending on his senior year. But you got Brandon Arrington. Who else they recruiting that could be a 5 star? I think Jake Krell could be a 5 star at some
He
point.
really could, and it's crazy to say that about a white kid who's 6'2", but
Yep.
he's
And then,
different.
yes, he is. And then naturally, Deuce Gerald's could be the other one that they end up with that's a 5 star. So,
So
like, oh, and Valen, yeah. So there's 4 or 5 that could end up in that, with that moniker at the end of the cycle. So that's some fans don't get discouraged because the one thing I think you can guarantee that you've seen Oklahoma do better than almost everybody is they get in on these 3 4 star guys that end up being superstars early on. Remember who was one of the very first offers of Jonah Williams last year, 2 years ago? It's Brandon Hall.
yep.
He blew up like nobody's business. And then uh, Marion Robinson, Marcus Wimberly, like they scout and they do a really good job of it. I was talking to somebody about that the other day. Like Oklahoma's done a really good job of getting like Ryan Foje is another one that was just a phenomenal eval by Beatenbow early. So, anyways, all right. I think that's going to do it for this version of the OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners YouTube Live. I want to thank you guys so much for watching us. Thank you, Riverwind Casino. Thank you to all of our sponsor, Refine You, um, Mando. Uh, Thank you guys so much for sponsoring us. We couldn't do it. And Naturally, the biggest sponsor is Riverwind Casino. Can't thank them enough for being our title sponsor. If you're not an OU Insider member, please go to OU Insider right now. OU Insider 9.95 a month, 99.95 for the whole year. It's worth it. Look, all this recruiting information that we talked about, like that doesn't even scratch the surface of what's on OU Insider. Plus, you get to talk to us every day. You ask us questions, we answer them. We do chats, we do mailbags, we do anything we can to make sure you guys are informed, team, all that type of stuff. If you were on OU Insider, you knew about Kevin Wilson before everybody else. Um, like that's the type of stuff you get on OU Insider. A great write up by our man Brody Lusk on the state of the union when it comes to basketball. Like, and he breaks it down to every nook and cranny to NIL, a solution, all that type of stuff by talking to sources. Like it is a fantastic article. You need to go read it. And it's not just a basketball article when you look at it in the grand scheme of thing. It's a athletic department wide article that you can learn a lot and a lot of great sourcing that he did to get that information for that story. Obviously, a lot of recruiting is going to be happening. A big March 8th Junior Day coming up. Tons and tons of elite targets showing up to Norman. We will have that fully covered for you guys. I will be at a big 7-on-7 event in Springfield, Missouri this weekend. Parker will be out at 7-on-7s all spring. We will be doing it. Plus, spring football starts in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. We will be at practices almost on a daily basis. We will bring you our observation from those practices because the good thing about spring is we get live practices for like an hour, 45 minutes, sometimes almost 2 hours. We get to be in there and watch everything that goes on at the practice, and we bring it to you live on OU Insider VIP. Who's doing what? Who looked good? Who made this play? Who looks changed their body type? Like all sorts of stuff. We get to talk to people while we're there, feed you guys information that you know you pay for on OU Insider VIP. So that's where it's at. Softball starting up, we have that covered for you. Baseball starting up, we have that covered for you. All of that over there on OU Insider VIP. Again, $9.95 a month, $99.95 for the whole year. If you're a college student with the .edu, please email us from your .edu. OUinsider@rivals.com, and we will give you OU Insider for a whole year. A whole year. That's less than $1 a month. A whole year for $11.95. Again, from your .edu, doesn't matter what college you go to, you email us, ouinsider@rivals.com from a .edu, bam, you get OU Insider for $11.95 for a whole year. If you're a teacher, email us from your teacher account. Love to help you guys out as well. Thank our teachers. Thank our military. Email us from your military account, active duty military, please. ouinsider@rivals.com, $11.95. All right, for Parker Thune. For Spencer Forsythe on the board, my name is Brandon Drumm. Thank you guys so much. You guys have a blessed night.